Hi, it's Kit for A Place to Hang Your Cape, and today I'm with Kenny, who will be talking to us about his Cosxpo and cosplay in general, really.
Yeah.
That's just whatever we get on to. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Cosxpo started last year, and it was your first event.
Yes, this March, it's 2019 now, so
I know.
2018 March.
It's messing me up.
So last year, yeah.
What made you decide to do Cosxpo? Where did that whole idea start from?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Basically, you know when you go to a lot of different events and cons and whatever else, and you go, oh, this would be slightly better if, you know, this got tweaked a little bit. Oh, maybe I would have done something different over here, over there, and then that kind of brewed on for, I don't know, the last couple of years before that, and then, you know, the final straw got broken and thought, screw it.
Your con is more based on cosplay than like comic books or anything particular. It's more focused on the actual cosplay part.
It is. In fact, it's more like an expo than a con because I guess when people say con, you expect loads of vendor stalls, you can buy things, artists and stuff. But we have that in a small area, and hopefully provide as much workshops to provide basically a platform for cosplayers to catch up, because I guess in competitions and stuff you get sometimes a big gap between like the people who always win and people who are too scared but want to give it a go, and then you get the people who are like, oh, so and so is going to enter, I'm not even going to bother, which makes a huge divide within the community, the competition levels, and compared to the rest of Europe, UK is hit and miss, mostly miss, but sometimes hit. Anyways, so we want to provide a platform for people who are interested and want to learn, to actually go to the workshops, go to panels, go to the cosplay lab, which is kind of like an experimental thing where you touch and try things, that kind of stuff. Hopefully it would spark people's interest to investigate more about those fields.
So now that you've run Cosxpo, you've had the experience of actually seeing the event go ahead, what would you like to change in larger events?
More content. It depends what kind of event you go to. For example, there are events that try to do everything. There are events which are just kind of like stalls, and then they go, oh, cosplay, let's dump some crap in and have a cosplay area, which, I don't know, 20 people go to throughout the whole weekend, and those kind of stuff. I think cosplay is very neglected within every single cons I've been to. For example, all the ones in London, and chains of events, they kind of have this cosplay area which isn't funded, but they are, after changing ownership of one of the other events, I think they are slightly going into that direction a little bit more, and providing a little bit more of a, I guess, community-based area, I suppose. Yeah,
it would be good to see. I know from a lot of the events I've seen in this country, it feels more like the cosplayers there as free entertainment.
They are.
Yeah, that's great that you guys are coming and providing more entertainment for our guests, so we don't have to do it. And here's a little zone you can hang out in, and that's all of our interests in you.
Well, I guess they are doing more for cosplayers every year, like better changing facilities, better storage. You don't have to like really pay for the cloakroom if you're doing stuff for entertainment, like the stage shows, masquerade competitions, whatever you call it, those kind of stuff. But one of the things that I really do get annoyed about is the lack of stages in the UK compared to the rest of Europe, I suppose. They spend so much money, and it's always packed at the competition because it's the main attraction for a lot of people. People love to see stuff that is repeated over and over again. People don't ever change, so but they don't give the stage space, and when they do give the stage dimensions, it's reduced by at least a meter or so because of all the equipment on stage, lights and monitors and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of the competitions, even at some of the bigger cons, you're surprised to see this tiny little prop-up area, or it's, you know, it's on the side of something else. And the only one I've seen myself that I've been to is MCM London. The last one I went to there, I was really surprised at the stage situation because I've never seen it.
It's not changed in a good since I started doing cosplay, which is back in not that long ago, 5 years ago. But other events, kind of even the smallest one in Portugal has a stage about 12 meters wide and about 6 or 7 meters deep. So that is a very small event in a sports hall. So I don't understand why UK is not investing more money in it.
Yeah, it seems like there's a bit less importance on the cosplay part here, isn't there?
Yeah, there is another event in London that I've been to where they have a stage, kind of like what we have. It's kind of like in the student union.
Yeah.
So they have a nice stage for theatre, but they don't really try to make use for it. So this time I want to experiment with lights and preset lights. We don't know how to do it, so we'll try.
See if you can make use of what's there. With your experience now having done it, what would you advise for someone that, like you, has been going to cons for years and thinks, I think I could do something different with this? Where do you start? Don't do it.
No, it's not just me. It's the team. I couldn't have done it without a great team who cares for the event. It's not easy. No. It's not cheap, and you're not gonna make money from it. At least for the first 3 to 5 years. It's going to be scraping the bottom of the barrels. You'll have to get investors or invest in money yourself, one or the other, or both. Just trying to stay afloat. It depends what your budget is, because it is expensive. Yeah. And don't expect to be successful straight away. Yeah. And people who do will end up like DashCon. I watched a in-depth analysis of what went wrong the other night. Oh my god, the parallel is uncanny. Like, I am surprised how Cosxpo stayed afloat and actually ran. I think it's 90% team effort. Yeah. I just kind of point. I don't really do too much. I just kind of hope people. I guess the team, everyone cares about cosplay. Yeah. Everyone really enjoys what they do, and they really do want to help the community. I think that's the most important part. Yeah. And then the majority of it is just getting the word out and trying to get people interested. Yeah. And I suppose what I found when I went last year is a lot of the people that went really wanted it to succeed, really wanted to have a con that did what you guys were saying. We're going to have something that focuses on cosplay. We're going to provide a space you can learn. I think a lot of the people that went that I was talking to were just like, this is what we need. So everyone needs to get behind it and help it get going. And I think that's nice. Yeah, it's difficult because the format for raising money is very different to other places where, as I guess, largely is vendor pay for the space. Yeah. Whereas we try and generate everything through ticket sales. So that's difficult. Yeah. Without people saying, endorsing it. It can't really work.
Yeah, you need the community to back you up, really. I remember last year hearing about your European Cosplay Academy sponsorship that you were doing, sending people out there. Do you want to talk to me a bit about that and how that came about?
Well, it's been ongoing since the first time I went to Lithuania. There was something called European Cosplay Academy, which was a thing where people, it's kind of like an exchange program where different countries come either get taught or teach each other. They try to do a slightly different format every year. This year is, I think, 5 or 6 different countries, like Ireland, Poland, God, I don't know who else was there. UK, obviously, Czech Republic, and Lithuania. There might be more. But about 30 people just taught what they know. Yeah. And the cosplayers are fairly above average on their field. So I guess for people who do a lot of armor, but not full-time prop makers and stuff, they would teach armor tips or prop tips to everyone else. Okay. So kind of like an exchange program for a week in Lithuania.
How does your Cosxpo Championship differ from other cosplay competitions?
How does it differ? This year we're going to try something different. Not very much done in the UK, which is rehearsals before. I know Euro Cosplay does rehearsals because it's a big event and stuff like that. But none of the other smaller competitions allow you to adjust stage lightings. Well, I suppose EGX for ECG, they allow you to tinker with lightings, but you never get a rehearsal to do it and make sure it's all right, and 90% of the time it kind of screws up and everyone gets upset, you may as well not do it.
Yeah.
So we're going to try doing rehearsals, and hopefully guide people into the right direction to step up for bigger qualifiers and events like that.
As someone who's like very, very early in competitions, I found from at least my research, I might be missing some, but there's like a huge gap between starting to do competitions at very small cons with like 100 people in the room and getting yourself some experience to, okay, well the next thing up is MCM with, 3,000 people watching me. And it's like there isn't a huge amount of places to learn within that space.
No, and I think next year we're going to put more effort into trying to guide competition entrance, as opposed to you enter something, perform on stage the next day. This year we've tried to write documents to help guide people in certain directions, like make sure your formats are right, and we're very heavy on people reading the rules. Yeah. So every time anything goes wrong, we say, well, you didn't follow the rules, we can't accept this document. Yeah. I know it's very nitpicky, but competitions like ECG require you to have files in a certain name format, like first net or initials, character, blah, blah, just for easy stuff. And we try to rewrite the submission forms in a slightly different method so people can do it online, as opposed to having to print out a huge document, sign everything, those kind of stuff. So everyone involved in the cosplay team has done many competitions, has done international competitions, and we're just getting together to see what we can change, really. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's not particularly petty if you're teaching them something that they're going to be expected to do later on. It doesn't help to
they don't see it. It's kind of
early
like
days, does it?
Yeah, parents teaching children. Yeah. They just don't see it until they are told to do it, and then turns out it's the norm. Yeah. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was much like that. My first competition was Reading Comic Con, which is very, very chill, which was good because I was horrified to do it.
Was that a couple of years ago?
Yeah. It was horrifying. I absolutely did not want to do it. So it's probably good that it was so chilled. But then last year I did MCM, and it's only then that you realise how totally out of your depth you are. I'm like, I know nothing about competitions.
Yeah, that's the same with me, because I started in 2013, and then 2014 I thought, let's enter something, it'll be a laugh, I'll have fun, I'll get super wasted, which I did. That was my first competition ever, was at Insomnia. I don't remember going on stage or going off. I just remember, oh no, I need to go on stage, I'm really scared, and then I was at the bar. So it happens. I suppose the first thing to do is, if you enjoy not just showing off your costume to people, but if you want to tell a story or bring the character to life, because you cosplay a character, it might be well known, it might not be, but someone will like what they see and they will understand your stuff, but I guess majority of people don't, but they will enjoy to watch the show. Yeah. A lot of people are afraid to look stupid on stage, because if they're afraid to look stupid, it will look stupid. Yeah. But if you try and exaggerate everything and make it stupid, it would just be normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something we all have to learn. I'm terrible at that. I hate being on stage. If I could do the prejudging and not do the stage, I would. That's the only bit I want to do. I don't want to go on stage.
Every time I have been on stage so far, I have been pretty smashed. The worst one was ECG, where I downed a bottle of whiskey before a stage and then a flask, and it was just absolutely wasted.
I'm amazed that you got on stage. I would need to be taken to hospital.
I'm amazed I didn't fall off stage, because I was crouched over and just jumping around. I can't really see anything either. The thing I found helped was never look people directly in the face. Yeah. Because you can just see everyone's judgmental face. You can look at people, just scan, as opposed to try and focus. Or I guess if you're looking at something, maybe look behind them so you're not really as aware of their face looking at you. Yeah. Because I found that when I do that, I freeze and I miss things. I'm like, oh shit, I should continue.
So you get pulled into it then, and that's all you can see. Yeah. I try and look over the crowd. Don't look at anyone, just look past them, and don't focus on the fact that they're there.
I think another thing that really does help stage stuff, stage frights, is practice.
Mm-hmm.
Practice as much as possible, and I guess with adrenaline and everything on stage, it's such a rush. That's why I keep going back I get super bad stage frights. But when you do practice, you do it enough, you know what you're doing, so you can slow everything down. Since adrenaline's going to kick in, everything's going to speed up, you're going to miss your timings. But if you do it enough times, you just know what follows what.
Well enough. Yeah, that's a pro tip, kids. Don't do what our team do and turn up on the day and plan your routine 10 minutes before you go on stage, because you will have a heart attack and it will be a horrible experience. So don't do that.
We did do that basically at LFCC.
How?
So we kind of had a general thing going on, and then thought, oh crap, we don't have the rest of it.
Yeah, we know it.
We know Cheeky Girls are going to be on, so we better dance to it.
No.
In sync.
It depends what kind of person you are. If you're petrified of stage, that's what we've done every time. I don't think we've ever practiced in advance before the day, and every time I've been walking on thinking, I do not know what I'm doing and I don't want to do this. So yeah, practicing in advance I think is a good idea. What are your hopes for the future for Cosxpo?
Well, there are plans. I want to improve on the set designs, kind of like other events which has huge sets and they just spend loads building it. We want to get a space that would allow that, and I guess people just are sick of convention pictures. It's always the same river, it's always the same cranes, it's always the same steps, it's always the same trees, and you can just look and go, oh, this is this con, this is that con. And oh, it's just in Birmingham, it's in the NEC, that kind of stuff. We want to provide something different. So far, we've got different sets for the 2 years, but budget is low, so please buy tickets. Yeah, we want to end up with more sets, spending more money on the sets. That's one side of it. And the second side is improving the cosplay lab, where people can experiment in more tools, more dangerous tools, for example, like sanders, bandsaws and stuff. But obviously we can't allow that because the venue's small and insurance won't cover it yet. But in an ideal world, with all the money and the insurance covered, bigger team, I suppose, to manage more things, because we're always short in hands. I guess every area of Cosxpo, just but bigger. We've got everything that we want to do on a very small scale, but if we're able to expand on that, that would be great. Great competition, where we don't hand out just cash, because people would just spend cash and forget about it, but something useful like good overlockers or equipment, sanders, airbrushes, that kind of stuff. Just everything on steroids, really.
And it was
Drugs are bad.
Pretty sure it was you guys that had the course with Auntie Fakes as one of your prizes. I thought that was great.
That was
a really good idea.
Very kind of them to donate that course, because it's a great course. I went on it. Without them, I don't think I would know half the stuff. Like, I didn't even know the difference between a sharp blade and a blunt blade. I thought, oh, it's sharp enough, I can cut through full. But as soon as I learned how to change a blade, or I needed to change the blade, it just glided through the foam, and I barely have to do sanding afterwards. It's stuff like that. I guess you just know as second nature, but unless you get told stuff like that, you won't know. So
having that experience and someone with experience to help you.
Just little tips for people who are willing to learn. That's the greatest thing, because for people who aren't interested in turning up to workshops, panels and whatever else, well, it's not the event for you.
Who have you got so far as your guests that you've announced? Because I know you guys are still announcing people at the moment.
Yes, we want to do something different, because I guess when you say the word guests, you get a very big divide. Like, oh, people, like celebrities sitting behind tables, or just get, my picture signed by them and say hi and then just move on. But we want to feel more like a, I guess, learning environment. So we call them something like either mentors or senpais. Senpais are just usually for people who are really skilled at their trades, and ideally from overseas, because I guess we want to bring people in to show different ways of doing things from different countries, because you can bring all the UK people in, but great. you have the UK way of doing it.
Yeah.
You get the material sourced from here, the standard place, but you just don't know about other countries and how they do things differently.
Yeah.
So far we have Sanctuary, we have Moki from Germany, sorry, not from Germany, Moki's from Germany, Sanctuary's from, I'm going to say Norway, and Urza from Germany as well, and we have Gnomes from the UK. Yeah. So they're great at what they do. People always label cosplayers as what they show off the most. Like Sanctuary is known for her seamstress and embroidery and everything around that, but she's not only good at that, she's good at other things as well. Like she can build armor, she can do wigs, she can do makeup, but people don't see that, and that really annoys me. Because let's say you say, oh, this person is judging, that person's judging, oh, they can only do armor, they can't do anything else. Oh, you have 2 armor judges, of course armor's going to win. Out of all of the competitions I've judged so far, which is quite a lot, working with other cosplayers which are judges as well, it tends to be the complete opposite. If someone's really, really into armor, they tend to, not always, but sometimes they tend to raise the stuff that they are not, they don't know well. For example, embroideries and stuff, if they don't understand it, they might kind of give it higher marks for it because it looks more impressive.
Yeah, they're more impressed by
Whereas, it. Yes, some seamstresses don't know how to do warbler or make armor shiny, which they will raise the armor standards or raise the armor points. But people who do know armor will spot what the flaws are, and then so it's completely opposite of people's expectations really at judging. Yeah,
I have to say I've never had the whole, oh, they're going to win because they're good at that. I have the opposite of what you just said. If I know they're really good at something, I do not want to enter my costume if it's that, because I'm like, they're going to know what I've done wrong immediately. So going on to competitions in general, what's been kind of your favourite or your most memorable judging experience?
Oh my god, there's one in, let me think.
Like everyone has one.
Czech Republic, I think it was, at Anime Fest. So, in Czech Republic, when you do prejudging, you have to enter the room as the character and do some sort of character thingy around you. Which is weird, but pleasant, because they're trying to be the character, which makes sense. You get like a small amount of points, like 5 points on Persona or something like that.
Okay.
And then there's this guy who I don't know if they understand English, and he goes over the top, and he was dressed as some kind of mummy zombie guy. I have no idea what it is. And he went over the top. He approached one of the female judges, started going, and she said, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me. And he touched her. Oh my god, she lost it, and it was hilarious. I was like, that was the most memorable.
So you've had a lot of experience with competitions elsewhere, like outside of the UK.
Only by fluke.
How do you feel they compare to the UK competitions? Like, what could we learn from them? What change according to them?
Organisation and stage props. UK isn't big on stage props. People expect to go on stage, piss around, and then piss off again, which gets repetitive, very boring, and not many people try and tell a story from with a structure. They do some stuff in the game that I'm like, oh, we have no context, we have no idea what's going on, and then cool. So it really depends, because people always complain about, oh, these judges aren't experienced, or these judges are overqualified, or I don't want to be judged by someone who's not experienced. Judging isn't too difficult until you get to the top 5, where the standards are similar. So at that point you need to differentiate between what's actually good or what's better, because they're all good. What's better than good, if that makes sense? Because UK being the UK, there's always some that stick out, and it's just placing first, second, third.
So you've had a lot of experience with international cons and competitions. In all your time judging, you've probably learned a few things about learning when people are lying about whether they've made something, or bringing in a bought item and saying they've made it. What have you learned about kind of sussing that out?
It's hard. So I guess first of all, ask for wet pictures and quiz them to that, because a lot of the time prejudging, and when you see something that's too good to be made, I guess half the time is too good to be made by them. I was very inexperienced once at another con. I was judging. It was like my first time judging or something, and I couldn't tell if that prop was made by someone else or made by them. In hindsight, I should have spotted it because their armor on the shoulder is different to the bow quality.
Right.
And I just stupidly believed that they made everything. And another prop was at the same event was bought staff, which was a cheap commission.
Right.
Coming to think about it, because it wasn't well made. They could have passed it off as what they made themselves, but that was more believable than the other prop. Kind of let slip. We had dinner with the person at the time, and I didn't know that they bought some of it and made some of themselves. They passed it off as they made all of it, and they said, "What could I improve better?" I'm like, "Well, your shoulder armor, because I have done quite a lot of Warbler before. Your shoulder armor could have been primed. It could have been made better." And funnily enough, someone else told me that was the only thing they made, and I slagged it off in front of them, and I was pissing myself, and it was hilarious.
I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have lied.
Yeah, you ask a lot of questions based on how they made it and quiz those techniques. I guess if you've done it or if you've watched enough tutorials or seen enough people do it, you kind of pick things up on the go. Quiz them on what kind of machines they use and how they actually did it, as opposed to, oh, how did you do it? I put it through the machine, but how, what's it, and that kind of stuff. And you just kind of pick those questions up, and good questions to ask aren't that too mean, are kind of like, if you had anything or all the time and money in the world, what would you remake on your costume? That's my favorite question. And basically it baits people in telling you what they could do better, and you go, oh, okay, you know what you've done wrong.
Yeah.
So that's nothing to hide, it's fine, but at least you know you've done it wrong and you can improve on it. It's how.
Yeah.
Another question. Oh, some top tip: never put yourself down at prejudging.
Okay.
Judges who are qualified will spot that without you telling them and pointing them to that direction. If they don't spot it, absolutely great. They missed it. You hit it well. Good job. Don't tell them, oh, look at my shin armor. It's falling off. Oh, you can peel this back. Look at this. Like, oh, you idiot. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
We have eyes.
Yeah, we'll see it anyway. If we want to know more, we'll ask.
Exactly. Just don't point out all the flaws in your costume. Something I like to do in my costumes, just to see if judges are looking at my costume as much as I would look at other people's costume. What prejudging is to hide dicks in my costumes.
Okay.
That started off in a Garen shoulder armor. I thought, it would be really funny if they spotted it in prejudging and questioned it.
Yeah.
Nobody ever spotted it. It's right there, right on my shoulder. Other costumes, for example, there's a dick on my knee, which is about that big and just displaying, but people never spot it. Like, I'm not even trying to hide it at this point. And
I look forward to a day someone sees it now. I want to hear about it when this happens, what their reaction is.
I don't always put dicks on it, but it's really funny.
I have only done a few prejudging things, and I find it's very hard to learn the important things to tell them.
Yes.
You know, it's that pressure of, you've got 2 minutes, what do I most want them to know, and what can I talk about the best? Like, some of the stuff you do, even stuff I've made, if they were to ask me what tools I've used, I'd be like, I don't know what it's called, my dad gave it to me, but I did definitely make this thing. Like, something
to talk about is, even though something looks very simple for you, like, oh, these gems, they're obviously casted by yourself, but if you don't tell them that, they might miss it. They go, oh, you bought some gems that you sourced online, then you stuck it on, great. As opposed to, I created a mold, it's kind of going through practice. Practice is the key. Write out all the points and just memorize it and just keep going through it all the time. Like, what I usually do is start from top to bottom, and then just talk about each thing. I casted the gem, I did this, I put lights behind it, and then I dyed the gem as well. That made it this color, and then just move on to another bit. If they have questions, they will stop you. If they want to wait till the end, they will also stop you and come back. So try and blitz through as many points as you can in detail, and just practice talking about it.
What advice would you give people wanting to start out competitively, so going into their first competition?
Many, but I get that question a lot. The first one is, don't be scared, is the word I was looking for. Scared. Don't be afraid of signing up. That's the biggest step. Don't worry about who's entering, because it doesn't matter. If you're good enough, you'll win. If you're not, get good. Or improve upon next time is what I meant. So keep trying. If you don't enter anything, if you don't get practice and you just enter expecting to win, just don't bother entering, because that's not the way. You'll get upset, you'll throw a tantrum. I've seen people throw their props because they didn't win backstage, and it's hilarious. You might get over yourself. So don't enter expecting to win, because at the end of the day, who wins, it's a matter of opinion and who the judges are. Whether someone else, you don't examine every costume, the judges do. They ask questions, they know different things that you might not see yourself. The judges could be wrong, but I guess 80-90% of the case judges aren't, because they see things close up. Just enter to enjoy performing and be a part of the experience. I guess competitions itself aren't just for yourself. Yes, it's great to win, but it's also to show off your costume to other audiences as well, and make them appreciate what you've done. Not make them, but show them what they can appreciate, if that makes sense. Because a competition, a lot of the time they go, oh, I have to do a performance. Okay, I will lip sync and just monologue the whole time. It's really boring to watch. Just try and find something creative, something that would that you would find entertaining yourself to watch. Record your performances and your practices, and see moves that you think look cool or feel cool may not look that cool when you watch it back. Naming a few, some guy did sword art online and he started bowling around on stage. Like, they didn't look as cool as they felt. Jumping and doing 360 turns, I'm like, oh god, what's going on? Don't be afraid to enter.
I'd say as well, have a good reason to enter. Don't just, like you said, don't enter to win. Winning isn't everything, particularly in the beginning, because the one thing you're going to need to do is gain experience. You're not going to get any better if you don't enter a competition. So
stuff that people don't really see or talk about is the people you meet backstage. It's just a whole new different experience. Yes, you spend, I don't know, hours backstage and waiting in the heat and everything, but I guess your day is made from what you do yourself. So go talk to people. People are still cosplayers. Appreciate the costume. Don't just go, oh, I'm better than you, or oh no, they're better than me. Just you know, try and make friends. If you want to know more about their costume, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask, oh my god, that's so cool, how did you make that? They will tell you. If they don't, excuse them is what I meant.
There are other motivations as well. So like I said earlier, I don't like going on stage. I really do not enjoy that part. But I really like going to prejudging. Not for enjoying that, because during it I feel like I'm going to die, but you can learn from it. You know, the best way to find out what you're doing wrong or what you can improve on is to go to people more experienced than you that can go, this was good, that was good, but you need to focus on that. It's a great way of occasionally reviewing how your skills are growing and what you need to improve. It's
the opposite for me. I've even skipped prejudging because I didn't think my costume was up to par, but I just wanted to perform on stage because I love that character so much. But I get such bad stage fright. It's the rush that I get when I go on stage. I'm like, oh, I don't want to enter my costume for prejudging. I'll skip it and lose that part. I don't expect to win. So I'll just enter the performance, you know, for my enjoyment.
I did the stupid thing of putting myself in for prejudging at MCM, which I absolutely was not ready for. My costume was not ready for. My costume was partly pinned together. Like, it was not okay, because I had said to my friends, I just want to get experience at a bigger competition and see what it's like, get an idea of it, so I know what do I still need to learn before I go. Seemed like a great idea until I walked into prejudging and was like, I'm so not ready for this. I'm the opposite. I would definitely skip stage and go to prejudging just to learn. I'm like, tell me what I need to do, and then I'll just not turn up for the performance because I don't want to go up there. But I have friends to push me on, so I didn't get a choice. So you said people have, as judges, things they're particularly good at, and things that they would be able to obviously spot what you've done wrong, spot what you've done well better because you're experienced. For yourself as a judge, what would you be looking for?
Well, I definitely inspect props and armours because I enjoy making that and I enjoy watching videos doing that. So I would be looking for imperfections in armour, stuff that are easily fixable, but people can't be bothered to fix it. Seam wise, it's going to be loose threads, things hanging off. Well, attention to detail, like that's your freaking armour. James, that's you. Still remember that if you're watching. Yeah, dust your armour, iron your clothes, iron your fabric. Make sure things aren't in your suitcase for hours and wrinkly. Stuff like that makes a huge difference. When building armour, stuff like when you're sanding, get a higher grit sandpaper. Make sure it's smooth, as opposed to getting an 80 grit sandpaper and just sanding some stuff and go, oh, I've sanded my armour, it looks fine, it doesn't look fine. So it's stuff like that that's easily fixable and they should know better.
Yeah. And your finishing touches, I guess.
Indeed. So if people don't know better, you are more lenient and maybe just mention that to them, oh, by the way, you could do this slightly differently.
I suppose as well, as a judge, it is very much appreciated when you do give them feedback as well. Not for everyone, some people just can't take criticism, but for myself at least and the people I've vented with, we always come back and that feedback you get is so valuable to us because that's the next thing to work on.
It always helps when you're asking for feedback to mention who you cosplayed as if you're out of cosplay, because if you leave it for 4 hours, that's something I do more often actually, write notes for myself against the cosplay, because you'll get used to people asking for feedback and you just won't remember and you just kind of dig up the notes and go, oh, by the way, I've noted some stuff.
Yeah. What do you look for in a performance? Because I know we've talked a lot about people being repetitive or, the whole rolling around, moving too much. What for you would you look at and say, actually, that made a really good performance?
I think emotional attachment to that character, because there is a very memorable performance from me in Czech Republic. I had no idea what they were talking about, but the way they acted it out was very, very powerful, and the expression were felt, even though I didn't understand language. They didn't do too much of flailing around and stuff, but the performance was very, very effective. The music was well put together, the audio was well put together, as in the lip sync. Everything was well rehearsed. Polished is, I guess, the biggest thing for me. People can have many complicated skits, but they all look crap if they overcomplex it, if they miss timings. Some things that are looked for in the higher levels are timings to your audio tracks. So let's say when you have a sword fight, you hear the clinks. A lot of people don't put that in because it's very difficult to time. UK doesn't have that much, but international competitions, the higher you go, the more those kind of timed actions are. It's kind of like a dance, as opposed to do some things on stage. So
the same things you'd expect from that. A good dance performance you'll expect from choreography in general. If you're choreographing a fight, it needs to be on time.
Fights are difficult because it's never clean. People either speed it up too much and they kind of go for scrap, or they slow it down too much and nothing happens in between moves, which is difficult. I don't think I've got the hang of that yet. So
obviously you've done a lot of big armour and prop builds. Where would you say you learned that from in the first place? I know you said you went to the Artifakes as well.
YouTube before that. My first 2, 3, 4 armours were from YouTube alone. I did Peppercore files, which I just kind of looked up. Basically, I started off with I wanted an Iron Man suit because I went to Comic Con and I was like, oh my god, I want one.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford one, so I thought I'd make it. It only cost about £500 because of all the mistakes I did, all the paint, I didn't know what I was doing. It cost a lot more, but yeah, invested in materials, those kind of stuff, and then I used hot glue and stuff until I went to the Artifix training course. I heard good things about contact adhesive, but a tin's like £15 and I couldn't afford £15. I'm like, I'm not going to buy that. But that was a very good investment. You get so much nicer seams and easier to work with. Everything's easier to work with. Not saying hot glue's bad because I still use it a lot, but pick the right times to use it. But before that, it's just YouTube tutorials, blogs. Yeah. It's really up to yourself to learn more.
You're saying basically YouTube is a really good resource to start with, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. And Google, because people write forums, people do follow my prop build, that kind of stuff on forums like RPF. Kamui has books, but her videos are more interesting because I can just put it on in the background. If I pick stuff off, great. If I don't, I'll re-watch it, whereas books I have to sit down and read it, and I'm lazy.
Yeah, well, and sometimes like my brother has a few of her books and I've looked at them. They're brilliant, but sometimes I'll read the same paragraph like 3 times and still be like, I don't quite get what you're telling me. So having that in video form can really help. Okay, what's been your favourite build so far?
Ooh, I get that question a lot. Every build is my favourite build at that point in time, because I've always tried to do something slightly different than my last build, which I go, ooh, this is pretty cool. Why didn't I do this last time? Because I just learned it. But every build so far has been different, and is my favourite build at that point in time until I do a new one. And I'm like, oh, this is my favourite one because it's so shiny. I did this so differently, and the surface is so smooth on this one, and stuff like that.
How have you dealt with the growth in audience? Because obviously you have built quite quickly from what I've seen, obviously, in your time in cosplay. How have you dealt with that? Has it like changed your con experiences a lot?
No.
There
is no growth in the audience I've noticed. Anyways, I just started my Facebook page from people telling me they don't want to see all my spam pictures on my Facebook timeline. So I'm like, screw you guys, I'll just put it somewhere else. Don't follow it if you don't want it. And then it just happened. I'm like, cool guys, I'll just, I forget about Facebook, I should probably put a picture on there. Oh crap, there's Instagram too. I'll put a picture on there. I still haven't really worked out how to work Instagram, because I barely post finished photo shoot pictures because I don't know how. You've
got the Facebook page, and you do Twitch and stuff as well, so...
My god, to all of my viewers that are watching on Twitch, which is just me because I watch my own Twitch to check the status. No one else watches it, so whatever.
So a lot of my cosplay friends, a lot of people I know kind of know of you in cosplay. You haven't found that's like changed your experience at all since you first started going to cons?
No.
You've been lucky then.
I just go to cons to get wasted.
Fair enough.
Have a good time.
So it is possible. It's possible to go without getting weird.
How would it get weird?
And if I speak to people who have bigger audiences, they just say like, "Oh, I get more swamped when I go to cons now," or people come up that have like follow your page and will start asking you really weird questions or being creepy. Or...
Well, first of all, I don't have tits, so people can't put it.
It helps. It helps definitely.
No, it's just whatever experience you make it yourself. To be honest, no one really cares about what I do. They just follow because I said, hey, follow my page guys. they just do, and nobody really cares about the builds. I just go to cons, meet up with friends, meet more friends, talk to more people, make more friends, and they go, oh, I have a page, like it. And then, okay, cool.
Actually,
no
really
one
good
really
to hear
cares
that,
about my page, to be honest.
Funnily enough, it is really good to hear that you can like get to a point where lots of people know of you without it being totally weird. You can still enjoy cons the same way, because there's so many people I've spoken to are just like, it just gets different. They get, your con experience changes. Like,
unless you're like a celebrity or something with, I don't know, 100,000, 1 million followers, no one really cares about what you do.
Yeah, fair enough. Good.
Everyone does the same thing. Like, oh, you got a job? He's got a job. Great, we all have jobs. So
it's really good.
Make cosplay, I make cosplay. So
Well, thank you for talking to me. This has been really helpful. We are obviously coming to Cosxpo again, so we'll be doing some content there, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you a bit more about Cosxpo.
Please buy tickets.
Thank you for joining us. There'll be links to Cosxpo, all the information about that, and all of your pages down below if you want to have a look. Thank you for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next time.